right, good morning, ZTC. How are you guys doing today? Good? It would be great to see who we have in the room, like your type of experience. So can you raise your hand if you have been building for XR already for the past year or longer? Perfect. And can you keep your hand up if you've been developing for more than 5 years? Okay, half of the room have been in this for a while. And anyone that hasn't developed for XR so far and is considering it? Perfect. You're also in the right session. But especially the people that have been developing for a while probably know that developing for XR has had this reputation on being difficult, right? You had to understand new concepts. You had to go through lengthy documentation just to get your project started. Iteration was pretty slow. Testing, big pain point, right? I see some notes, so I know some of you resonate with those problems. So today we're going to talk about, my name is Mike Lamprinos, by the way, and today we're going to talk about how we've spent the last few years at Meta, listening to your feedback, and really evolve our developer experience so that you can focus on how to build for Quest and your experience, and not just getting your project started, not any of the technical difficulties. So we think we've put a lot of effort in this. We have a lot of developer tools and developer-facing content that we're going to talk about today on how we have, what we believe has resulted in a step change on how easy it is to build your Quest, no matter if it's your first time building or if it's your second, third title. And today we're going to focus on 2 key content types that we see have a lot of potential, but we also know can be difficult to build. First of all is multiplayer and social experiences. I don't think it's a secret that many of the most successful games and apps in the Horizon store have some element of social or multiplayer. But this has traditionally been pretty hard for a smaller team or a smaller studio to get right. And of course, we're going to talk about mixed reality. Mixed reality has had tremendous growth as a content category in the last few years. And we have a lot of exciting stuff that just came out that we cannot wait to show you and talk about today. And what I also want to talk about is that this session is all about building, right? So how do you actually build something for Quest? How do you build something for Horizon OS? We're going to talk a little bit about what's new and all that, but we're going to focus on the building part. So I have 2 great presenters here with me today. Ionut, who's going to go deep on the tools, what's available to you, and DIlmer, who you might recognize from his YouTube videos. I don't know about you, but whenever I'm trying to build something for the first time for a new platform or a new feature, I always check his videos. So I cannot think of anyone better to really go deep on how you build something. GTC can be a bit overwhelming. You hear a lot of information for the next week. So when you go back to your teams, to your studios, and they ask you, what did you actually learn, it can be difficult to have a cohesive answer. So today we're going to try to solve that for you and help you understand how you can build for those 2 use cases a lot faster than before and a lot easier. So you can go back to your teams, back to your studios, and start building for MR and start building social experiences. Does that sound good? Perfect. Let's talk a little bit about MetaQuest and Horizon OS and the store. So it's been a very big year for the ecosystem. The Horizon store continues to grow and be successful for developers with over $2 billion spent on games and apps. We have a great session tomorrow to go deeper on the store. So if you're interested on that, 2 p.m. tomorrow, led by Chris Pruitt, who will go over the store specifically and their future plans. But what we're seeing already is that with MetaQuest 3S, the momentum of the ecosystem is accelerating. And it's really a great device. I'm sure many of you have tried it. And what we see is a new generation of gamers, a new generation of users experiencing VR and MR for the first time, thanks to Quest 3S. So the trends that we have been seeing for the last few years are only accelerating with this new device. Now, when we're talking about content and games that they are successful, they tend to have a mix of those characteristics. First of all, they tend to use mixed reality and other MetaQuest capabilities. Some of them are have interactions that are intuitive, like they are controllers free. You can use your hands to experience the actual game. And many of them are built with social baked into the experience. We're also seeing signs of AI really coming and helping developers figure out new ways to design their games and interact with their audiences. And I think what's really interesting is that we could have a session just talking about each of these set of capabilities. But what we see is when you combine multiple of these trends, you can build something really, really unique. Now, let's talk a little bit more about mixed reality. And some of you that haven't developed for MR before are probably thinking, how should I be thinking about MR in the first place, right? What is successful already? What do we know as being a great MR experience? So we have created and we have introduced these concepts of MR motifs. MR motifs are blueprints that capture some of the recurring ideas that we see surfacing in the Horizon OS developer community. We have a library of MR first, mixed reality first, and semi-immersive experiences to help you get started on how to ideate and prototype for MR. So thinking a little bit about MR first motifs, you can definitely reimagine real-world activities, like Cubism has done really, really successfully, or enhance real-world objects that already exist in your in users' houses, like piano vision. You can also add virtual characters in your space. First Encounters did a great job on that. If you haven't tried that already, it gives you a very good feel of how you can really blend the virtual with the real and the room. And obviously, you can build out full spaces, like with Coaster Mania. Now, even if you don't want to take an MR first approach, semi-immersive motifs can help you think and experiment towards, for example, virtual portals, or how to use VR as a play space. Those are just some ideas, some blueprints that we see being surfaced in the developer community that can be a starting point on how to think about building for MR. Now, we see a lot of exciting content being built in MR already, both in gaming and gaming-adjacent industries. So, for example, if you like working out, FitXR is a great experience for that, or Pillow. Or if you're pursuing a passion like music, piano vision is really, really great. So it's really important to understand of the successful content types and the successful titles that we see coming live, and take inspiration from them and MR motifs to build your next experience. Now, I want to talk a little bit of how do you actually build, and Ionut is going to go deeper on that section in a little bit, starting with Unity. So in Unity, we offer 3 different paths. One is the Meta XR all-in-one SDK. It's been on Unity's asset store for a long period of time. V74 came last week. It includes a lot of our tools, our developer-facing content that can get you started fast. We also support AR Foundation, which is Unity's multi-platform framework. So if your team has experience building for that, you can build for Quest as well. We keep adding new mixed reality features there. Yeah, if this is a path that your team can support, Quest supports it. And last but not least, we have OpenXR, which with the latest version, it's actually the suggested path, especially if you're a Unity 6 developer onwards. It has a feature and performance parity with the Oculus XR plugin. And I think what's really important is that the choice is yours. You choose the development path that fits your team, your content, and what you're trying to achieve. Now, zooming out a little bit, we offer this path for Unity, but we support 5 different development paths. So I dare to say, whatever your team's background or your experience set, we probably have a framework that you can build on today. So Unreal Engine, we support in a similar manner to Unity, both through the MetaXR plugin and through OpenXR. And last year, we released Metaspatial SDK, a native Android framework. So for the Android developers that you want to make your apps spatial, this is a really, really good framework to start building. We also obviously support native and web. WebXR, we keep investing and adding new features there. But again, the choice is yours. Everything is on our website. You can have a look. You can understand all those developer paths and choose the one that fits what you're trying to build. Now, how do you actually get started? What are some resources available to you? We have a great tool called Building Blocks. I'm sure some of you have used that before. What Building Blocks does is it allows you to skip the part that you read documentation or you go really deep into understanding how this feature works. Instead, you just drag and drop one of the building blocks into your Unity scene, and everything is being taken care of for you. So building blocks are prefabs, and we keep developing collections of building blocks on the use cases that we talked about. So we released a few around multiplayer, which I don't know how many of you have tried building a multiplayer game. It tends to be really complex and really difficult. Building blocks helps with that. It takes care of all the networking element, and you just drag and drop it into your scene. Or around MR use cases like tabletop experiences, where we have collections of building blocks that you can drag and drop into your scene, so you can focus on prototyping or even building out your full experience. We also offer really engaging showcases. So if you look for inspiration of how you actually get to build a great experience, have a look at our showcases. We offer MR ones and a new one around graphics performance that you should check out. Last but not least, samples and MR Motifs. We talked about MR Motifs. They come with samples. They're part of the Meta GitHub. You can go and check them out. Now, once you start building, we know that iteration speed is really important. So we focused a lot in the past years on offering you the right tools to really improve the iteration and testing flows. MetaXR Simulator is an example of that, so you don't have to put on your headset whenever you want to test even the smallest detail. MetaXR Simulator is great, especially for mixed reality or multiplayer testing, and now comes with macOS support. So especially for Mac devs that it has been difficult to test with Link, MetaXR Simulator is a great tool to get you started. Now, once you get building, you probably want to look at performance of your experience. So we have a full set of performance tools. I know some of you keep OVR metrics, for example, always on, performance analyzer, part of MetaQuest Developer Hub, as well as popular developer tools like Perfetto and RenderDoc. And lastly, in some cases, you actually need to put on the headset to test something. So we want to make that part of the experience really smooth as well. So last year, we released Immersive Debugger. Immersive Debugger is a Unity tool that you can customize exactly to your game. So you can iterate and test things while you're on a headset. We've seen Beat Games, the studio behind Beat Saber, using it, speeding up massively their workflows. So check it out as part of the Meta XR all-in-one package. Now, to go a little bit deeper on how these tools can help you build towards the experiences that we talked about earlier, Ionut is going to come up on stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Good morning, everybody. It's great to see a full room so early in the morning at GDC. Thank you for being here. As you've just seen, it's an exciting time to build for the Quest ecosystem. There's 5 different development paths available to you, lots of developer resources to get started, and new tools to make it easier. We're investing to make multiplayer easier to develop because it is a trait of successful games. If you look at the Meta Horizon Store top games, you'll see that the majority of them have a multiplayer experience. This is our users voting with their controllers that social is important. And it's not just on Meta Horizon. More generally, industry data shows multiplayer games enjoy, on average, 40% more monthly active users than single-player ones. How many of you have tried to build or prototype a multiplayer experience in mixed reality? Wow, I see a few brave souls here. Thank you. Was it easy? No. We're here to make it easier. Growing the developer community is paramount for Meta, and my team works to reduce complexity for new devs who want to join. So here's what we're doing to make it easier to build multiplayer experiences at all the stages of product development. We've created building blocks, and we constantly create new showcases to help developers discover new ideas and get started quickly with prototyping and development. Testing multiplayer is notoriously finicky, from requiring multiple headsets or multiple people being engaged to test the gameplay. MetaXR Simulator and MetaQuest Developer Hub are here to lighten the load. And lastly, debugging is hard, especially with the headset on. We're proud of our newest tool, Immersive Debugger, that allows you to debug while in your app in headset. So let's go deeper. First, building blocks. Let's have a quick show of hands. How many of you have used building blocks? Nice, that's a few. Thank you for your trust. With building blocks, you can easily discover and add different capabilities to your project. And the word discover is very important here. Long time ago, about 2 years, we were at a developer summit in London, and we kept hearing from our developers that they felt they constantly have to write the same boilerplate code over and over again, be it to enable pass-through or to create some common game object, like, for instance, a portal on the wall. And we went back thinking, all right, we have to come up with a library of code snippets that get these things done. So we started doing that. And then our engineers came and said, we're going to write that library, but that doesn't mean developers will know it exists, and even less that they're going to use it. So this is how building blocks was created, because it not just solves the problem for you, it also makes it easy for you to discover what's in there. Fast forward to today, building blocks contain a set of different features from all of Meta's XR SDKs, including some of the things you see here, like pass-through, different types of interaction, and so on. Let me show you how it works. So as soon as you install either our all-in-one package or the core SDK, you can go and open the building blocks window. From the menu you have up on top, you can browse, figure out what capabilities you want to add to your project, and then you drag and drop it onto your scene. And that's it. You're ready to go. Building blocks are an amazing way to make hard things easy, or at least easy to get started with. The first such use case that we looked at is multiplayer. To make things interesting, mixed reality has two types of multiplayer. One, when we're all in the same space and we interact with each other using some virtual components. So for instance, we're playing a virtual set of chess. That's what we call collocation. And then we have co-presence. We're all far away, but we interact in a common virtual space. We listened to our developer community and made sure that from the get-go we supported two of the most popular networking solutions out there, Photon Fusion and Unity Netcode Game for Objects. And make no mistake, we're not talking about a thin wrapper around these solutions. We integrated them with the major Meta SDKs, avatars, interaction, platform SDKs, spatial anchors, so that you can just drag and drop one block and get matchmaking, collocation, network avatars, name tags, voice chat, and much more. Now I know prototyping, getting started, it's only part of your dev journey. A lot of time and effort goes towards iteration and testing. So let's talk about MetaXR Simulator. Show of hands, how many of you have used MetaXR Simulator? All right, thank you for your, I'm glad you found it useful. MetaXR Simulator allows devs to iterate fast when they build experiences with mixed reality, because simply they don't have to turn on and off their headset. A bit of history here. We decided to double down on this tool after attending a presentation similar to this one at GDC in 2023, where veteran XR developers were advising their newer colleagues to always test their code in headset in the afternoon. Why in the afternoon, yes? Simply because if they get sick because of the junkiness of the code, they don't waste a whole day of work. So we listened to that and said, we have to get simulator out on the double. XR Simulator simulates the physical reality. We have different set of rooms, so you can test how your game behaves in different situations. It simulates the device controls in different ways, from mouse and keyboard to an Xbox controller or even Quest controllers. And my favorite feature, it allows you to record and replay your gameplay so that you can quickly and easily set up testing automation. I want to highlight real quick the capabilities around mixed reality testing. We built a collection of 11 rooms. We call them synthetic environments. Engineers will be engineers, to represent some of the most possible situations your application will be used in. Big rooms, small rooms, high ceiling rooms, etc. If that's not sufficient, we also build a system so you can scan any room using your headset, and then you can download the scene data and load it into XR Simulator to be able to test in those conditions. And you can also just go and build whatever environment you wish using our synthetic environment builder. Meta XR Simulator shines when it comes to multiplayer testing, especially for colocation. You can run multiple instances of XR Sim on only one developer machine, and they all share the same mixed reality state that is stored in one of the synthetic servers. And that means that as soon as an object moves in one instance, that change is automatically propagated to all the instances. That allows you to simulate the testing of shared spatial anchors, which is not an easy thing to achieve. And again, we have the record and replay system that allows you to test quickly and get automation going. And this leads us to Immersive Debugger that streamlines the on-device inspection and debugging. This one is fresh out, so I'm just going to ask, how many people have heard about it? Okay, good. It's a good thing we're talking about it here. Immersive Debugger allows developers, but also technical artists, to iterate within the headset quickly for spatial or visual elements. For instance, where should I place this particular game object? How is the scale from the point of view of the player? It allows you to debug mixed reality experiences that rely on capabilities such as scene. My favorite example is, why doesn't this virtual ball bounce off this podium? There's something wrong with the scene model. And lastly, monitor state changes, identify issues using the console logs. Showcases, as Mike was saying, are another accelerator for development. These are games built by our inside teams in Meta that try to explore best practices around different parts of the Meta SDKs. I'm going to show here 3 of our latest showcases around mixed reality and multiplayer: Cryptic Cabinet, Fanto, and Discover. You can go and download them from the Meta Horizon store. You can go and check out the code on our Oculus GitHub page, and you can use that code and jumpstart your own development. Mike was mentioning tabletop. We believe tabletop games will be a strong driver of growth in the MR games space. And in order to set the vision of what this could be, we released a new showcase recently. It's called Spirits Link. And Spirits Link is a 4 people, up to 4 people tabletop experience. Each player is represented by an avatar. He controls a spirit that it moves around the tabletop, and then they can fight each other using slings. And voila. Enough talking, let's start doing. I'll hand over to DIlmer, who's going to show how to quickly create a mixed reality multiplayer experience with the tools you've just seen.
Thank you very much, Ionut. Applause for him. And thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm a developer advocate for Meta, and I'm really excited to share with you some of the things that we've been working on for the last month or so. So just to give you a little bit of background, I was tasked to work on a prototype for GDC. So I only had about 4 months to create this prototype by myself, being new to Meta, being part of the developer community in the past. So I've been doing development for many years, so this was a really fun challenge, and use a lot of technology that Ionut and Mike mentioned. So what we wanted to do was we decided to work on a prototype. It was going to be a painting application to start with. So think of a painting canvas application with multiple users joining at the same time. So we need to have a collocated experience, or it's multiplayer. If you grab a color marker, that position of the color marker in rotation needs to be all synchronized. So there's just a lot of technology packed in here. There's also multiple inputs. So you have to think about the controller. How do I track the controller? How do I go from hands to controllers, from controllers to hands? And also we have the amazing pass-through that we have all been asking for many years, which was just recently released, and it was also incorporated into this application. So the idea for the application is think of a drawing app where you have a photo that you take from the pass-through cameras, you put it behind the whiteboard, and you can trace, right? Or you can just use it as a reference point as you're drawing. So in order for us to, or for me to build this, I wanted to start things from scratch. We developers want to create things from scratch, but I think building blocks, in my case, works really well because you can drag and drop all these different components, and then you can customize them as you go or add custom logic. So these are some of the different building blocks that I added. So pass-through, which allows you to see the mixed reality world, and you can see digital objects overlay. So that's that component which has a dependency on the camera rig. Also, I added the controller tracking. So drag and drop that. The objects are all set up in the actual hierarchy. I also added collocation. So some of you who implemented collocation know how difficult that is, right? So this automatically takes care of that. It has a dependency to the share anchors. So the way that it works is when you add this component and you run this in Unity, there's going to be an anchor at the center of the room in front of the player. When that happens, the room is collocated. So that anchor is going to be shared to, so that's the host. That gets shared to all the clients that join. And then when that happens, then everybody, it's basically positioned based on that reference point. So a lot of technology. Back into that, we just had to drag it and drop it. So, and then the other ones were the player name tag. So if you guys are creating games where you want to see the other players' names, then you add this component, and then you can see that as players join your session. And then lastly, I wanted to be able to synchronize the actual color marker positions and also the panel for the whiteboard. So I added the network grab object, as you see on the bottom right there. So the way that it works is when you set up your environment, I had two choices. So I'm really familiar with Unity 2022, and I've used it for many years, even though people say, okay, move to Unity 6. And that was my habit. So I always start with that. So then quickly I realized, well, why not try Unity 6? So I tried Unity 6, figure out a couple of quirks, and then got things working. So this prototype is built with Unity 6. And then you have to select which modules you're going to add, right? Like if you're installing Unity, the modules that you're going to install are going to be Android because that is the underlying technology that Quest is built on top of. So we have Unity installed. Now we need packages from Meta SDK. So you got multiple options. In my case, I always go with Meta all-in-one, and it has everything, all the SDKs, which is good and bad. So I recommend doing that for prototyping, it's fine, but moving forward, just pick the packages, the individual packages that we offer. I think that's always better to streamline your project so you don't have all these packages that you have to be worrying about. And then after that, you have to set up the plugins, right? So in my case, I ended up using the Oculus plugin that was early on before we started talking about OpenXR and other things. But you also have the option to select OpenXR right now as of V74 or greater, which is what we recommend. Also, once I get the plugin selected, then you need to decide which devices you're going to be targeting. So in my case, I did Quest 3 and 3S because that is going to be the devices that PCA, the pass-through camera access, supports. And then the project setup tool, it's amazing. I don't know how many of you started developing when the Oculus integration package was available, like if you can raise your hands. And do you guys remember how difficult it was to keep track of all the different settings, right? And if you didn't get one setting, you have to go to this other thing and find it in the forum, so it was always like a nightmare. So the cool thing with this, and I use it a lot, is now you get rules, right? Like if developers have comments and say, well, DIlmer, this, it's not taking care of this. Well, we hear your feedback, and we can add that rule to the project setup tool where we just hit apply, or we look at the recommendations that it's suggesting, and based on that, it applies settings so that your mixed reality project is set up properly and also is optimized. So you don't have to apply it all. You can ignore some if it doesn't work for your game. But for the most part, I always hit apply, and then I just keep track of those in source control. You can just do a commit, and then push it, and then if you want to revert back, you can always do that. Parallel Sync is a tool that I really recommend looking at, because for this experience that I built, you can run multiple instances of Unity, and what it does, it creates a clone. So when you launch Unity, you can have multiple versions, not multiple versions, but multiple instances of the simulator running, and then you can test co-location pretty easily with that without having to deploy to a device. So really recommend that tool. It's also pretty easy to set up. So once you have the mixed reality environment set up, we need to start thinking about the building blocks that I mentioned on the earlier slide. So this just shows you how you would add those. You pull up the building blocks panel. And then as far as multiplayer, the co-location building block, once you grab it and drop it into the scene, it's going to tell you, do you want to use netcode or do you want to use Photon? I am very familiar with netcode. I'm not saying use netcode, but that's what I decided to use. In your case, you're more than welcome to use Photon, which works great. You can use Unity. But if you use netcode, the dependencies are going to be relay and lobby as of right now. But Unity is moving to more of a unified package. So heads up, Unity 6, you're going to need to install the services, that multiplayer package. Otherwise, it's going to say that it's deprecated. It still works, but it gives you that warning. And then the Horizon development portal, in this case, I use it because we added the player names. So we need to get that player name information from the Horizon developer web services. So that just adds basically the app ID. So you can add it to your project so that it can communicate, get entitlements correctly. But it's pretty easy. Just go to the portal, get the ID, and put it into Unity. Okay, so I show a lot of slides, but I didn't show any action. So this is one of the features that I wanted to incorporate into the application. So instant content placement came out on V71, and when that came out, it basically shows you how you can use depth. So it uses depth API to determine where surfaces are. So normally if you use MRUK, which is a mixed reality utility kit, you have to scan your room, right? You scan your room, and then you can detect where the walls are, where the tables are, where different objects in your room are. And that works great. We recommend MRUK. But if you don't want to add MRUK or have that friction to have the scene set up, you can use instant content placement. Uses, like I said, Depth API, scene model is not required anymore. And then there's an example. So in this case, I use grab the environment panel placement beta sample that is under MRUK, download it, did a little bit of refactoring on the code, and then voila, this is all working fine. I can place a whiteboard on the walls. Then okay, so now we have the project set up, we have the building blocks, everything that we needed for the game as far as dependencies. So now this is how it works. We have two users, one user can draw on the whiteboard, the person that drew first, she has a better handwriting than me, so I let her go first. And then I draw after. But if you notice, though, we're doing a multiplayer experience. So I'm drawing, there is a network variable that is storing an array, and that is getting sent back to a server RPC. The server RPC sends it to the client's RPCs, and that was the only customization that I did on the networking part of the code. Most of the setup was done by the building block. Just a couple of different methods that I added to be able to do it. But the name of the person shows correctly. I can move the colors, and that information gets synchronized because the color has a network graph object, and that information gets all synchronized to the other clients and the clients to the host. So that's a fully collocated. So what are some of the tools that I use? So, and Mike mentioned how important they were to use Meta XR Simulator. I also use MetaLink. In my case, I ended up using all three for different parts of the implementation. So I wanted to create custom grab poses. So for custom grab poses, the simulator doesn't work as well. You can still do hands, You can't really like move your hands because it's all really rigid. You can just move the hands around with your keyboard. But I use MetaLink to do that. So if you guys look at that video, I was wearing the headset. I'm connecting to my computer via USB-C, and then basically moving my hands, and then I can test that the poses are working correctly. I can also make sure that I can draw, and that was just a great tool to be able to test that. The simulator, on the other hand, was great for me to be able to test on different environments. So I wanted to test, in this case, I'm testing in this environment. I have the board in front of me, so I want to make sure that that is working correctly. I can move the controllers by using the keyboard, and I can also draw. It's not as precise as using the real controllers. The cool thing about the simulator, though, is there's a feature called data forwarding, that what you do is you calibrate the controllers, you connect it to the simulator, and then you can basically just use Unity as the screen that you're looking at, and then the physical controllers you can move around. So I think it's the best of both worlds if you want to do that. Or if you guys probably have many gamepads, you can also test with the gamepads and test your experiences with that. And then Immersive Debugger worked really well in this case. So all I had to do is I added a debug inspector to the actual script, the ability to be able to draw on the whiteboard. And there was a start line and an end line. So that allowed me to expose the functionality to the Immersive Debugger. And basically, at runtime, without me having to deploy every single time, I can change that by the creation of the custom inspector that I did. This is a simple use case, but you could probably see the value of adding these components and what you could do. I can also test how pass-through looks like if I change the opacity or different styles. So I talked about building blocks, and when you drag them and drop them, and there's some misconception that you can't really customize them, but you can. In my case, I was able to change the hand tracking grab visualizations, which is what I'm going to be doing in this video. And what I did is I drag and drop the actual building blocks for the grab interactions, and then at that point, if I want to enable visualizations, I can do that. I can also change the colors of the visualizations. And the great thing about that is I have full control. I can enable those components. I can add custom logic to those components. But building blocks is fully customizable. And then you can also adjust the grab poses. At some point in this video, you're going to see that the grab poses that I have, I can also modify and I can add to them. So building blocks allows you to just have a starting point. And then the multiplayer stacks, you can go to Photon. You can also use, if you want to use netcode, you can also do that. But like I show in this case, you can see that I have the grab poses activated. That is not something that is default added by the building block. And then in this case, I have the outline on the fingers. And this is really cool. This is a really cool feature that you can go in and create many hand poses depending on your experience. Like if you're grabbing a can, if you're grabbing a different type of object, you can align the fingers the way that you want it. So that's another customization that you can do after you add building blocks. So you have a lot of freedom in there. So now, who is excited about pass-through camera API? Raise your hands. Awesome, awesome. So I am really excited about it. We have been asking for this feature for many years, and it was recently released. So these are just some of the requirements for it right now. So you're going to need, like I mentioned earlier, a Quest 3 or a Quest 3S. The underlying operating system you're going to need is going to be Horizon OS V74 or greater. That's what we recommend. And these behind the scenes include something called the Android Camera 2 API. If you guys are familiar with Android development, there used to be an Android camera at some point. This is the improvement version of that, and that is really what it's doing most of the work here. We just have a wrapper on Unity that basically generates a webcam texture, and that webcam texture is the one that holds the texture that you can see through the headset. There's going to be two permissions that are required. The Android permission camera is for the webcam texture to be able to read that information, that camera data. And then you're also going to need a custom permission, which is called Horizon, the permissions headset camera. This is what it's going to pop up to users when they first open the experience, and you have to grant the permission before. But this is the prototype. You can see I took a picture of my computer, and I said GDC Game Developers, and then we wrote on the wall, on the whiteboard, welcome to GDC. And you can kind of see also the quality of the pass-through, which is which is pretty good as well. So pass-through camera API permission, this is how it's going to look like on your actual Android XML. I've been getting a lot of questions on social media about Unity 2022 to Unity 6. Make sure that you remove the Android XML and recreate it. Otherwise, you're going to get a bunch of errors. And that's just from a 22 to Unity 6. In addition to that, if you're prototyping and testing, you're going to need, for camera API, you're going to need that line at the very bottom. There's also an option to update your manifest. If you don't want to delete it because you have too many things in there, you can also do that. As far as the code, there is a sample which I'm going to show you, and I can share with you guys. I recommend you to go to the booth, because these examples that we built, you're going to be able to basically build it for yourself from start to finish right at the booth. But this shows you the line of code where we access the webcam texture manager. So basically, you drag and drop that prefab into the hierarchy. That takes care of asking for permissions and everything. And all you need to do in the code is just basically read that property, the webcam texture. And then you can map that to a raw image or an image. Or if you're really familiar with shaders, then you can do a lot of magic with shaders in there. You can see here, in this case, we're reading that information from. And then, and then this one, it's the prototype. You can see the PCA running. It's really, really fast. And you can see that she's drawing. I can see what she's drawing. I can also move. I made that a grabbable object that I can move around. I can draw it. You can see that. And then the end was, OK, I'm going to take a picture of it. I don't know why this idea came up. I thought it was fun to do, so I took that picture and then put it right beneath it. And then just an idea of how you can take pictures. You can do a lot of things with a lot of machine learning use cases with PCA. And then she can grab it. I can see the changes. And that is it for the prototype. So as far as takeaways for the prototype, honestly, building blocks, it simplifies development. I love to code and everything, but I don't want to reinvent the wheel every single time. Multiplayer programming, I've done a lot of code with netcode for many years, and I love doing it, but there's a lot of things that I don't want to keep doing. So starting with the building block, drag and drop, and then you can customize it, you can change it, you can add to it. I think it's a beautiful thing in my case. And then, building blocks can be customized, like I show you in those different cases with hand grab visualizations, poses, and also the multiplayer stack. So that is it, and I want to open it for Q&A. So if you guys have questions, we're going to have you line up in there and ask your questions, but thank you.
All right. One thing to note that this experience that you just saw, you can actually try it live in our booth starting tomorrow. So we have a few desktops that you can actually build the same experience. So again, when you go back to your teams next week, you can actually get started building. Excellent job.
Thank you.
Questions? Thank you.
Quick question. The web camera tool seemed really cool. One of the things I've been looking for is a desktop streaming version, similar to virtual desktop. Do you guys have that, or is it something that you're looking to build?
Let me make sure I understand the question. So similar to the camera pass-through access, you're asking if we have an ability for what, sorry?
For mimicking rendering someone's desktop stream, similar to virtual desktop.
Yeah, I think you can today look at what the user is actually playing. Like you can use the Meta Developer Hub to do that, and that allows you there to cast basically what the person is seeing. So that is currently available today.
Is that a tool I can drag and drop into Unity and have have a VR game?
I see.
So Meta basic multiplayer experience where I have just a screen, drag and drop a screen with some settings that has desktop streaming.
There is a tool. It's called from Live that you can do that. It's a camera pretty much that you can drag and drop into Unity. So I would recommend looking into them. And if you have additional questions, I'm going to be at the booth, and then I can show you some of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Hello. Good to see you, Dylan.
Good to see you.
So Nicole Azar here. I'm making a game called Follow the White Rabbit, mixed reality. And I was curious how soon we're going to get like building blocks or something for the camera access for pass-through video. It's a mystery adventure that takes place in your room, and I want to do semantic tagging, like many of us in this room, to put that into my game engine so I can create really fun mysteries we can play together.
Excellent question. Can you hear me? Yes? Yes? All
Yes.
right. We're looking at it. We want to release some building blocks around these features as soon as possible. I think one key takeaway that you probably saw today is that it's already very easy to access the Android level API. Mm-hmm. So we're looking at ways to bring those to building blocks, but
Okay.
it's already really, really easy.
Okay.
Would love to chat more on what other building blocks can help fast track your experience as well.
Okay, great. Yeah, so if we have it running on mobile, for example, on Android, that might help us get in. Okay, thanks.
That comes with being short. I had a question regarding the building blocks that we just introduced. I see that it's with Unity. Do we have anything like building blocks for Unreal that can be used, or is it coming in the future? And yeah, I think I'll leave the other questions for the booth.
Excellent question. So the question is, building blocks is available for Unity. Are we bringing it to Unreal? Right now we have released it for Unity. It's a question that we get all the time. We don't have any announcement of bringing that to Unreal yet. I would suggest using some of the Unreal specific resources like blueprints and seeing the developer-facing content we have for Unreal. But I hear your feedback loud and clear on how you can help Unreal developers as well.
Let me just add something quick. So we created an MR template for Unreal that is not just made available for downloads from our website as well. So do check it out.
Okay, thank you. I'll do.
Hi, I am a team developers and I do about the mixed reality arcade games. We make a mixed reality called games is a Snake Arena. We established a tournament in the 9th March, but we have the problem which in the heat of the device, when we use more than 30 minutes or 1 hour, the device may be heat and the sensor will be something not unstable. This is the first and have the second in the MetaQuest in version 74. It have the problem when we close the browser the Guardian, we cannot casting video from to the another. This I have a two problem. I need some contact to make it better.
Excellent. Thank you so much for the question. So just to repeat, the first one was around the device performance overheating if you use multiple features, and the second was a bug on V74. So let me start by the second. We will follow up on this. Let us know exactly what is broken, and the team will have a look. On the first one, do you guys have any practical tips on how to take overheating of device?
I would say come to the booth. We have a bunch of experts there. There's a whole Ask the Expert table, and we'll find someone who can help.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hey, good morning. Great to see you, DIlmer. I follow you on Threads, so it's nice to be finally connected in the same room. It's maybe more of a question or a suggestion. Sorry, it's more of a suggestion than a question. One of the things that I'm seeing around mixed reality development is that it's really hard to get people to understand what everybody's making. You know, like this, it's like you have to do drawings, mock-ups, and so my team is simultaneously developing for Horizon Worlds and for mixed reality. One of the things that we're seeing in Horizon Worlds is the development is much easier because you can all go into the space, right? You're in the same engine. It's almost like being in a Figma session or a doc, right? And so just a thought that it might be nice to kind of think about how we could do this for MR. Could we essentially make some sort of like co-presence environment where multiple people can join the session as you're working on the game or the product?
Yeah, I can add, hey, it's a pleasure to meet you. So the question was, do we have anything where we can have a co-presence when we're designing games or applications in MR? Because right now it's really complex to do that. And the thing that I can think of is like Shapes XR, like the way that they do, and they do design, and multiple people can work in the same place. So we'll take that feedback. I think it's great. I agree. Right now it's not optimal the way that you develop multiplayer games where you have multiple instances running, and if you want to test with somebody else, you have to deploy to a device. So yeah, I completely agree with you. We'll get that feedback and then talk with our teams to make sure that that's something that we can line up in the future.
And we're really happy to work with you guys if you want to do that. We are working with the sort of the Quest on the Quest side, some of your teams. So if you want guinea pigs, we're here.
Come to the booth and let's have a talk. I love to chat with you.
Yeah, because also I think one of the biggest things, right, is everybody's space is different. And so a lot of ideas just become I just see that there's such a disconnect for people a lot of times because you're having to use words. And then as soon as you even do like a Photoshop mock-up of something, you can get, but so again, like Shapes XR is great, but I think you want something where you're literally like natively with your Unity assets, like kind of exchanging stuff so that you can rapidly build stuff up and test it.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
We have time for one more question, but we are going to stay and answer any questions on the sidelines. There's a full day of programming coming after this.
Okay, good morning. Thank you for your talk. It was very good. I was thinking that maybe do you guys have any prediction for having like marker trackings in the future? Because I think everyone's expecting that and everyone needs like a mixed reality Yu-Gi-Oh! It's my dream. So maybe if you could like track the cards and everything and create games using physical objects interacting with the virtual ones.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and and I get that a lot. So there is a great example. Come to the booth. I can share with you.
Okay.
That one of our engineers made as soon as PCA came out. There's one engineer that made an example with OpenCV. So they got the texture, and then they're running that texture against the OpenCV for Unity, which is in the asset store, which I think it works. But then there's another engineer that used a different mechanism to do that. And that's something that I can share with you. You can look at the example, download it. There's a QR code example in there as well. There's another one where he lay a paper with the barcode on it, and then as soon as it detects it, it basically puts a cube on it. So we have examples to share.
Nice.
And you would have to be cautious about performance. So that's something that this is an early version. But we're working on creating better, more robust solutions in the long term where we can just have building blocks or more built into our tools or maybe into the operating system.
Yeah, just detecting would already be great. Tracking is even better. Thank you.
Awesome.
I'll be there.
Thank you so much.
All right. We will answer the question just in a second. We just need to wrap up the session, and we will be here to answer any questions. But let me just go through a few takeaways from our session today. First of all, you can choose the path based on the team's skills, concept, and target experience. We talked about the 5 different development paths that we offer, and Unity, one of the more popular game engines, we offer 3 different paths that you're free to choose, whichever works best for your team. Prototyping, especially mixed reality and multiplayer, is now fast and effortless. So these are 2 use cases that you can go back and we literally cannot wait to see what you build. Pass-through camera access is one of those things that in every single event for the last few years, everyone has been asking for. So we can't wait to see what new content will emerge thanks to that. And yeah, full toolkit available across all engines and development paths. And building for Horizon OS is easier than ever. We have a few resources, so if you want to take a picture of the QR code just to see how you can download the tools that we talked about, super easy. Everything that we talked about. There are also more tools that we didn't have time to go through, especially if you're building haptics, audio features. The Haptic Studio is a great example of that, and Developer Hub is something that developers tend to use throughout their development journey. And we'd love to hear your feedback about this session. We have a few different sessions coming up today, where they're going deeper into different topics. They're all happening in this room, so if you want to learn more about tabletop MR experiences and pass-through camera access, there are some more talks coming today. Or if you want to learn about our developer support programs like Meta Horizon Start, where you can apply and be part of a really vibrant community of XR developers. We offer a lot of support and specialized access to that group of developers. So that's all for us today. Thank you so much for coming. Please come for the next sessions as well.